I appreciate you guys giving me a little bit of time to speak today. I appreciate Coach Odom asking me to come out here, and like you said, we've known each other for a long time. And the first thing I would tell you, one of the things I love about basketball is that right there. Like me and Coach, we grew up, we were neighbors. I've got an older brother. Coach was in the middle of us. He was a grade older than him, than me, and we all went to Cy-Fair High School. And but the thing is, man, that's what's great about basketball. Is like it's teammates being on a team and listening to Coach talk about buy-in and stuff like that. Like I think that's the thing. I'm going to talk about a number of different things, but I think the thing that you can never really lose sight of, guys. One of the reasons you play basketball is it's a team sport, right? It's about guys like to score, and I know guys like to get some of the credit and stuff like that. But like really, the older you get, what you're going to really appreciate about it is the guys that you played with, the teams you played on, and some of those relationships you get to build. So, like, you've got to always keep that in mind, okay? The other thing I'm going to tell you guys, just for me being in here less than 5 minutes, is credit to you guys for being here today. It is hot in here, and you guys are up here practicing, right? So, like, that's part of what it's about, okay? And I always, me and Coach, we're getting old, and when we grew up, Coach, where did we play?
Outside.
Outside. We played outside every day. There's an LA Fitness, I think, right across the street here. They didn't have that when we were growing up.
I know.
Villa Sport and all these other places. And there's nothing wrong with going and playing at those places. But like I coach at the high school, I got a lot of guys, if they can't get to Villa Sport, then they feel like they can't play. And we grew up playing outside, looking for a park. All we wanted was a ball, some baskets, and a place to play, right? And the fact that you guys are in here, it's hot. It speaks highly of you guys, okay? So I'm just going to talk about a couple things here with basketball. And then, Coach, if I don't address something you want me to address, just ask me, okay? But
No problem.
you guys are young, right? What grade are you going into?
7th grade.
7th grade?
We're all 7th grade.
All going into 7th, right? So, like, this is going to be your first chance to make a public school team, right? You guys play on AAU teams and stuff like that, but, like, this is going to be your first chance to make your school team, right? So, let me just tell you guys this, and every coach is different. I bet if all your teammates were here and Coach was going to coach you guys, he would play a certain way, use you guys a certain way, and then if I had never seen y'all and I came in here and I had you and I coached you, I'd probably do it different. Like every coach has their own way they like to coach, things they believe in, and this and that, right? There's more than one way to play basketball. You can play zone, you can play man, you can play fast, you can play slow, you can run a ton of set plays, you can play space and drive. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of ways to get it done, right? But let me tell you something about basketball. That's what I try to tell people all the time. This is a skill game. Okay? And back, like in the olden days, even older than me, there was like, oh, you had a true point guard and you had a center, right? And that center was going to be put down here on the block, and that's where he played. And then you had a small forward and a shooting guard and a strong forward. And all of these guys had very well-defined roles. Right? The big guy didn't have to be able to dribble the ball. He played by the basket. He had to block shots and this and that, right? But that's not how basketball is played today, okay? It's a skill game. And you guys watch the NBA, right? You're looking at Giannis, who they just won it, right? Back in the old days, Giannis would have been, they'd have told him he wasn't allowed to dribble the ball out there and do all this stuff. They'd have put him on the block. He's 7 feet tall. But that's not how it is, right? So just always remember this. You got to be able to dribble. You got to be able to pass. You got to be able to shoot. Dribble, pass, shoot, and you got to be able to play defense, guys. Okay? Like, that's the whole thing. You've got to work on every aspect of your game. Every single year, I have kids ask me at my high school, because they want to play more. Coach, what do I need to work on? And we've had some really good players. Last year, we won our league, okay? And I've got a few guys off that team that are going to play in college. And then I've got some other guys on that team that aren't going to play. They just finished their high school career. They had good careers, and they're just going to school, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But it wouldn't matter if the best kid off that team asked me, or the kid that maybe played the least asked me. If he asked me, well, Coach, what do I need to work on? Well, you need to work on your ball handling, you got to pass it better, and you got to shoot it better. I tell them all the same thing. And the thing is, guys, and they get frustrated with me, but the thing is, like, that's the game. And you never, like, get to a point where, like, well, you've made it as a shooter. You don't have to work at it anymore. Like, you always have to work at it. You always have to work at it. And whatever you can do ball handling-wise, there's always something you can do better. You know what I'm saying? And whatever you can do passing it, you can always do it better, right? So like my thing is the skill parts of the game, you've always got to work at it, okay? beyond that, I'll come back to some skill things beyond that, right? While you're working on those things, right? Like somebody may be a better shooter than you right now. Somebody maybe handles the ball better than you, right? How do you make up for that, right? So when I watch guys, they come, we just had camp, and I had some young guys come, and then we had our guys that are coming into high school camp, right? So different age groups, middle school guys, all the way through incoming high school guys, okay? And right away, we can tell, hey, who can shoot it, who can pass it, who can play a little bit, who understands some things. But then we start looking for other things. Who competes? Who competes, right? You might be a pretty good, maybe a little bit better ball handler than this guy. But if it's just a little bit, but he competes harder than you, I'm going to take the guy that competes. Because I can win with guys that compete, you understand? You know what I mean when I say compete? Right? There's guys who play hard, like they'll play hard until they get tired, and then they stop competing because they're tired. But guys that really understand competing, if they're on the floor, they're going to compete. They're going to fly around, they're going to defend, they're going to talk, they're going to dive on the floor for loose balls, they're going to rebound. They're always going to compete while they're out there, you know what I'm saying? Okay? So like that's the number one. What skill does that take?
Mental?
Yeah, right. It's just a toughness thing, right? But can you develop like if he wanted to be tougher, could he be tougher, right? And vice versa. Whereas if he wants to shoot it as good as the next guy, well, maybe he's got to spend time to do that. But toughness, guys, a lot of times is a choice, right? So right away you can level the playing field just by competing. Okay, you've got to hustle, you've got to be physical, and I think when you're younger, sometimes that can be hard. But like when you get older, we start lifting weights, we do this and that, but you've got to be physical. Everybody will tell you, oh, basketball is a non-contact sport. That's not true. And you guys that play, you know that, right? So you've got to be willing to be physical. And guys, I'm going to tell you this. This is the number one thing that will instantly make you a better player and make your team a better team. And very few kids and players want to do it today, and that's communication and like talking while you play. And have any of you guys ever had a chance to go to an NBA game and sit close to the floor? You've had a chance? You've done it? Did you notice anything while you were down there? Not many people get to go sit down. I've had the chance to sit on the floor twice. Been lucky to do that.
I sat first row once.
Did you notice anything when those guys were playing? They're talking the whole time. And you never know that on TV. You never know that watching the game. Did you ever see an NBA game and they mic them up, like one of the guys wears a mic and they're playing, and then they'll show clips of it, and those guys are talking the whole time. They're talking the whole time. And we try to tell our guys in high school, you've got to talk, you've got to communicate. Two reasons they don't do it. Number one, they're shy and they get embarrassed, which is silly, because if they weren't on the court and they were just hanging out at their buddy's house, y'all would be silly together all the time, right? But out here, nobody wants to look silly, so they don't do it. And then number two, most of them are like, I don't know what to say. What do you think you should say while you're playing? Yeah, positioning, maybe defensively or offensively. Yeah, right. So I'm gonna simplify what you're saying. You're correct. You're correct. It doesn't matter if you're on offense or defense. This is what you always have to remember. What should you say? You should say anything that's gonna help make the game easier for your teammate. So like if somebody was coming up, if I was on defense and somebody was gonna come screen you, if I just tell you and you've got your back and you're down playing and you don't see it, and it was coming on this side, and I just said, hey, screen right. And right away you're like, oh, screen right. Well, I've been taught how to guard that if I'm getting screened, right? But I can't do it if I don't know it's coming, right? So just by simply telling you, I saw something that you couldn't see, I told you I can help you, right? Anything like that. We're trying to run a play. Coaches put in any plays with you guys? A little bit, right? Did y'all get started, right? A little bit? How many guys does it take to run a play right? All 5. So you have 4 guys running it right, 1 guy not doing it. If you know what you're doing and you know what he should be doing, all you got to do is tell him, hey, go down screen. Go down screen. Or hey, cut through. Just one little thing. If you tell somebody to do it, what do you think they normally do? They do it. You know what the number one thing happens to us early in the season? We're practicing, we'll be going in transition, right? Going from offense to defense, and we're getting back. And what's the number one thing we got to do in transition defense? What do y'all think? What's the number one thing? We're going back on defense. What do we got to do? What's the most important? We got to hustle. What's the most important thing? If we don't do this, we're going to lose. We're going to get scored on. We got to stop the ball. Right? We got to stop the ball, right? So if we were just playing and we go back and nobody stops the ball, we can't win, right? But normally it's as simple as this. If one guy just yells out, I have the ball, or Billy, get the ball. If I told Billy to go get the ball, what do you think Billy's going to do? He's going to go get the ball. So my point is, it's just so simple. And the thing is, it doesn't take any talent to talk. Although that's not really true. It's a developed skill, right? But like anybody can do it. You don't have to be 6'8" to do it. You don't have to be the fastest guy to do it, but you just got to make a choice, okay? I think some things at y'all's age that can be really hard, guys, is just having some basic offensive concepts, right? But I would tell you, like, if you guys are going into 7th grade next year and I was doing tryouts, I wouldn't hold it against anybody if nobody was really good at this. But as I'm watching the gym and maybe we're playing some 3, I'm just going to let y'all play and see who understands how to play. I'm going to look for guys that understand, like, spacing on offense, right? We don't want guys too close together. If our spacing gets messed up, I'm looking for somebody who understands they should cut, right? I don't want to see guys who are constantly running to the ball. You're dribbling around and I want the ball, so I'm always running to you. Because when I run to you, I'm bringing my defender to you. I'm making the game harder, right? So if I want the ball, I'm looking for guys who understand how to cut to get open. Cut, be available when the ball is ready to be passed, right? Or understand when I need to cut through to create spacing, or my guy turns his back and he's not looking at me, so I cut through. So I'm always looking for guys who just kind of have a feel and understand how to play. If you don't naturally have that already, that takes practice, right? As you guys get older, the more you play, you'll start to figure that out. But you have to make a choice. If you don't have the ball on offense, you can't be a guy that just stands. Like if you're just standing, it's just 4 guys watching the guy with the ball, right? The biggest, like you guys are gonna practice, and coach is gonna give you offense and stuff like that. So when he teaches you how to play offense, depending what you're playing, a lot of times his offense will dictate what you should do. But if you're just playing a pickup game, if you guys right now, if y'all had like 8 guys in here and y'all were playing 4-on-4, and it was just a pickup game, you can really tell who understands how to play, because the guys that don't understand how to play, they'll just stand there. If they don't have the ball, they just stand there, right? So you got to know when to cut, all that kind of stuff, okay? So, again, depending on your level, and you guys are younger, right? But this is one of like the killers. And this is, by the time you get to high school especially, like you can't be a ball stopper. We're playing offense, you can't be a ball stopper. Y'all know what that means? What do you think that means? It means that every time you touch it, what happens to the ball? Well, you stop it, right? So maybe it was like, maybe he had it, he passed it, and he cut. And then you caught it, and you passed it, and you cut, or you screened. And then you caught it, you passed it, and you maybe went and screened. But then you caught it, and what'd you do? Dribble, 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 dribble. Because what are you looking for? Something for yourself, right? So I'm looking for something for myself. And now we had good ball movement. We were moving the defense around, and every time you touch it, ball comes to a halt, right? And then maybe you didn't have what you wanted, you got stuck, and you finally give it up, and now the ball's moving again, and then it finally comes back to you. Ball stopper, right? Ball stoppers kill offense. They allow defenses that are beat to recover, right? So one thing we tell our guys is, you've got to know, guys, you got to anticipate before the ball comes to you. When you catch it, you've either got to shoot it, drive it, or move it. Shoot it, drive it, move it. Shoot it, drive it, move it, right? And the only reason you wouldn't play that way is if you were running an offense where like maybe coach called a set play, right? And you're trying to let that play develop so you can get it to the next guy, right? But good basketball players understand they can't just freeze the ball. The biggest place they have ball stoppers is in the NBA. And that's okay because those guys are the best players in the world, right? They can get those guys the ball, and that league is designed to take advantage of those guys. But even there, the best teams are the teams that move the ball. They move it, and they have a lot of success, okay? So keep that in mind. And then, one of the things, guys, as you're like trying to separate yourself from other people and you're trying to get better as a player and stuff like that, is I would just tell you 2 things. Like, you got to think about what kind of teammate you're going to be. Regardless of how good of a player you are. You could be the best player, but if all the guys on your team, even if they know you're the best player, if they don't like playing with you, it's no good. You know what I'm saying? If you're not fun to play with, then that's no good. You've got to be able to be somebody that's a good teammate. We tell our guys all the time, doesn't do us any good if you're not a good teammate. If you're not fun to coach, not fun to play with, it's always like just having to kill ourselves to get you to buy into what we're doing and stuff like that. It's no good. And the thing about basketball, what you'll start to find out is the best one-on-one basketball player may not be one of my best 5 players when I put my team together. Like basketball teams are a puzzle. They're like a puzzle. I may need the best player out there, but I may not need the next best player one-on-one out there. I may need the next best shooter, and then I may need the best defender, and then I may need the best big guy, right? So you've got to figure out how you fit into that. You may be the best. I have guys all the time that if they're playing pickup games in like our open gyms, they always get picked up. They're pretty good because there's no rules. But the minute we get into an organized game, they really struggle because they're ball stoppers. They don't play defense. They don't move the ball, and they just don't. They just have a hard time learning how to play together as a team, right? So I would just say this too. You always have to try to be the best player you can, right? You got to be able to dribble it, pass it, shoot it. But then as you're working on all that stuff and you're trying to grow your game and you're trying to get better, I would challenge you with this. Like, there's going to be somebody when you guys go try out at your school next year that you know is going to be better than you, right? Maybe he's the best player or whatever, and everybody kind of knows that. And no matter how hard you try in that tryout, you're not going to be better than him. You're not going to catch the coach's eye that you're a better player than him. But the one thing you can do is you can figure out what value do you guys bring that would be important to that coach. That coach may see that that kid's the best player, but if just from the tryout he sees, man, that kid makes every layup. He doesn't miss layups, or that kid makes free throws, or man, that kid is all over the place. He is hustling. He gets a lot of deflection, gets his hands on the ball, or maybe you can just really shoot it. You can't go by anybody. Maybe you're not super quick. Maybe your ball handling's not where it needs to be yet. But if that best player can drive it, make your guy help, and then pass it to you, and you can catch it and you can make open shots, then you're bringing a lot of value, right? So you may not be the overall best player yet, but maybe you're the best shooter, or this and that, right? So like while you're working on your game, guys, you can't, and don't ever let just one thing that you do good be like, well, that's what I do. You may be the best shooter, but if you don't improve your ball handling, eventually they'll take that away from you, okay? Like when you get older, coaches do a good job scouting. I had a guy that played for me as a freshman. He played on our varsity because he could really shoot it. Nobody knew who he was. So we started the season, and he was making wide open threes as a freshman. Played up on the varsity, did a great job. By the time we got to our league play, he could never get a shot off anymore. Because by then, all those coaches knew, man, that guy can really shoot it, don't let him shoot it. And guess what he couldn't do? Couldn't dribble. But partly because he was young. Like playing at that level, he couldn't play. But we had to tell him and say, hey, so now you know, right? Like up here, this is what coaches do. They really do a good job. And they learn about you, and they try to take away what you do well and make you do something you don't do well. So what's the goal? To be really well-rounded at everything you do, okay? As you're practicing and getting better. Let me tell you guys, as you're practicing, right? And be careful what I say here because everybody does different things, but I just want y'all to understand this. Offensively, this is how games are won right now. Y'all ready? You gotta make layups, right? That's common sense, right? You gotta make layups. You gotta make free throws. And you've got to make wide open, just set shot 3-pointers. If you can do that, you're gonna win basketball games. That sounds easy, right? But the thing is, like, how often are these like wide open? Not very often, right? But when they are wide open, you have to be able to make it, guys. Right hand, left hand, you gotta be able to make it, okay? Free throws, you know they named it that for a reason, right? It's amazing to me how many guys can't make a free throw. You have to be able to make a free throw. And then spot threes, right? So the reason I'm telling y'all that is, like, I see guys working all the time. And there's nothing wrong with this. We do this. We practice this because we think it helps our ball handling, but we don't let guys really do this during the game, right? But the triple combo move, crossover between your legs, behind your back, right? All these moves. And if you could do that, that's great. But the truth is, that's not how we really play. We catch the ball, we rip the ball hard, we get downhill, we drive it, we try to get into the paint, we try to make a guy help, and we try to pitch it for catch and shoot wide open threes. What you know, y'all know James Harden, right? If we just had him here, and y'all know, what did he popularize? Shooting the three, y'all know? The sidestep one, right? Right, so he got it, and he sidestepped, right? So now, what does every young person practice? That three, right? Like I got guys in high school, that's all they want to do. They're doing this. And here's the thing, is that bad? Not necessarily. But if you can't just catch it and make it wide open, should you be practicing that? You know what I'm saying? You've got to be able to do the simple things. right? And I guarantee you, I know that's what coaches tell you. Just do this, just do this, just do this. Guys, if you can't consistently make a layup, or you can't consistently make a wide open three-pointer, or if you can't make a free throw, it's okay, but that should be the bulk of your practice. You should be shooting hundreds of just set shot threes every day. You should be shooting layups, guys. Right foot, left hand, left foot, right hand. And then different ways to finish. Stride stops, jump stops, all different things, right? But things that you would actually use during a game. I think the hardest thing for guys, that's why you have coaches, that's why you have AAU coaches and high school coaches and trainers sometimes, is to help you kind of have a plan. I'll ask my guys, they'll come in the gym, I'll give them a ball and I'll throw it to them. I say, if I gave you 30 minutes, I gave you the ball, I gave you the basket, I'm gonna give you 30 minutes. What are you gonna go do with that basket by yourself? What are you gonna do? I'm gonna ask you, 30 minutes. You get 30 minutes in the gym, coach is gonna give it to you, you have the basket, what are you gonna do today? What are you gonna work on? Yeah.
I never shoot up. What I mean by that is like, if it's just me, I'm probably gonna be in the paint 25 minutes, and the rest 5 minutes I do really good.
Yeah.
I would really shoot threes because
That's okay.
I mean, I'm not ever really gonna be shooting around and shoot threes in the field. Maybe I do.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Eventually, right? But I think you play to your strengths right now, and you practice where you're going to play a little bit, right? Here's what's kind of a good answer, okay? Here's kind of my point. When I ask my guys that, they're just kind of him-hawing. They're like, probably would I might shoot some threes, and they just kind of talk like that for about 5 minutes, and then I kind of tell them, never mind. You know what I mean? If you're going to practice, guys, you have to have a plan with what you're going to do. So I'm tell you right now, listen, layups, spot, just catch and shoot threes, free throws, okay? Can you make a plan off of that? Right? All right, as simple as this. All right, well, there's left-handed layups and there's right-handed layups, right? I'll give you the simplest plan ever. I'm gonna make 10 left-handed layups. I'm gonna make 10 right-handed layups, okay? Just to keep it simple, there's corner threes, wing threes, top of the key threes, right? Make 5 from each spot. How many is that? How many have you made? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. You gotta make 5, right? Okay? And then do some ball handling. That's like the simplest plan ever, right? But if you did that every single day, like that's what I did growing up every single day, okay? And then you give yourself a chance to play. You don't have to have coach come in here and have practice, although that's good. Not everybody has a basket at their house. We had a basket at our house. My driveway was like this, right? So when I shot layups, I was shooting like 9-foot layups. When I shot threes down at the bottom, I was shooting like 11-foot threes, right? But it doesn't matter because you just learn how to play. You spend the time, you gotta practice, okay? You gotta put the time in. But I would just really challenge you guys, work on things that you're going to have happen in a game. I tell my guys this. If I see my guy shoot the sidestep 3, I'll tell him, I don't know why you're working on that. It doesn't matter to me if you can make it or not. Because the minute I see you shoot that, I'm taking you out. Because we're looking for a better shot. Even if he makes one, he's not going to make a high enough percentage. So I try to tell him, I'm like, don't waste your time working on things that I'm not going to let you do, right? You guys are at an age where you want to not waste your time on something that's not going to help you like make your team, right? And then once you make your team, how do you get on the floor? How do you get playing time? How do you add value to that team, right? And so you add value by figuring out what's the one thing that you could really be good at, right? That you can be consistent at, okay? And then the last thing, guys, I'm gonna tell y'all is this. And this isn't, I don't know you guys, this isn't directed at you guys, but I've been coaching for 23, 24 years now. Been doing this. Been a head coach for 17 of those years. And this is the number one thing that I run into with kids. Because kids are people, right? And people have feelings, and we get defensive. Adults get defensive, kids get defensive. When we try to help them, they give us pushback. When I say help them, I mean coach them. When we try to coach them, they give us pushback. I'll tell kids sometimes, hey man, we really need to work on your shot. I can shoot it. What are you talking about? I can shoot it. That sounds like something you might hear? Like, why do you think a kid would tell me that? Why are you telling me that? I can shoot it, I can shoot it. Well, why would I tell him we need to work on his shot? Why do you think I would tell him that? Just me personally, looking at me. Why do you think I would tell a kid, hey man, we need to work on your shot a little bit? What do you think I want out of it? Y'all want me to be the most honest I could be with you? Because I'm selfish. I want to win. And I can't win if he can't make shots. But you know what else? I want him to be successful. Like, we're in this together. I always tell my players, it's the true with coach and with you guys. I mean, with coach coming in here and working with you guys at your age, guys, I'm going to tell you something. This is strictly about you guys. It's about two things. I know coach loves basketball. Like, he loves basketball. But he's in here working with you guys. This is strictly about you guys. It's like 100 degrees in here today. But y'all are still in here. But eventually you have to understand this. Coaches want to win. Coaches want to win. So we want to help you get better. It's a little bit selfish. Hey, and players want to win, and they want to score, and they're a little bit selfish. But the thing is, guys, we do it together. We have to work together. You understand what I'm saying? And like, there's nothing like, the thing is like, once you have a coach, and you're not going to love every coach you have, and in today's world, you know, you may jump around with coaches, but I'm going to tell you, when you finally find that coach that you really trust and you'll listen to, and you understand he's not trying to be mean to you or trying to hurt your feelings or this and that he's trying to help you, that coach will be part of your family. Like, that's just how it is. I'm just telling you, like, the guys that I coach, the guys that will really let me coach them, and I've had so many of those guys, I've been doing it for 20-something years, those guys become like family. Because they start to be like, man, I really care about him, and I want to see him be successful. And when we can be successful together, it's awesome. And when we can take that shot that you've just been so close on, and we can help you get to where you're making it consistently, however happy you are about it, man, we're happy for you. You know what I'm saying? So like, if coach has got you guys in here, and he's getting after you, or he's telling you, hey, you got to do it better, or hey, do it again, you're not doing it right, or hey, I showed you how to do it, we're going to do it like this. It matters how you do it. Like, you got to pay attention to how we do it. You got to take a deep breath and say, okay, coach, yes, sir, and go back and do it the way he showed you. He's showing you for a reason. If it didn't matter how you did it, he wouldn't take the time to show you. He'd just say, go out there and do it. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? I would just really tell you guys, big credit to y'all for being here, but man, y'all got to listen. You got to listen to him. You got to listen. You go make the middle school team, you got to listen to that guy. And guys, coaches aren't perfect. Coaches sometimes will make a mistake or make a decision. You know, we're making decisions based off experience and off what you can do that we think are going to help you. But if we make a mistake, most good coaches will come back and say, you know what? That didn't work out. Let's fix it. Or this or that. You know what I'm saying? But you got to be willing to put the time in and all that kind of stuff. Okay? Coach, I think that's my biggest points. Anything that you'd like me to talk about that I didn't touch on?
Everything that I would have wanted you to address. That was spot on. Spot on.
And just, guys, I'll just tell you this, like just from personal experience, you know, like, so I played through high school. I had some small college opportunities that I ended up not going and playing. I just went to school. I wanted to coach. I got into coaching, right? You know, coach played in high school. I played a little bit in college and stuff like this. Like, there's all different paths in your basketball journey, but just, man, understand this. We got to say, we're actually adopting this year with our team, okay, at Woods. So don't let anybody steal this from you. But like, we always have different slogans and stuff like this, but I think this is one that we'll stick with because I think it is so meaningful in so many things, right? And we're just gonna tell our guys, you gotta be ready. And I don't know anywhere in your life like that won't apply to you. You gotta be ready, right? You gotta get up. The bus is leaving at this time. You gotta be ready, right? Is this right? But you know what else? Listen, I tell my guys all the time, like, I was slow. I'm 6'1", I could never dunk it. As a matter of fact, I could barely touch the rim in high school, okay? But man, I could shoot it. I worked, I could shoot, I was smart, I understood how to play. But guys that were better athletes than me, that were quicker than me and this and that, they just kind of relied on that. They just kind of accepted that. But because they didn't work at their game, they gave me a chance to play. There's always going to be an opportunity for you if you're willing to work, for the most part, okay? And if you can outwork somebody or you can bring more value to somebody, you'll give yourself a chance, right? So I would challenge y'all. Okay? All right, man, I know it's a long time. It's hot here. I'm going to start talking. All right, man, appreciate you guys. Y'all got any questions or anything? All right, good luck to y'all.